13th, 2025. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If everyone would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We have a long meeting agenda today, so we're going to try to keep it going. I do want to give notice that we had an executive session prior to this meeting. We discussed real estate and legal issues. And then we have several presentations. Before we get started, I do want to say that we are going to pull the deer culling presentation from tonight's agenda. It'll appear at a later agenda. We just had our presenter had to leave, so that won't be done tonight. But first, I'm happy to announce we have the Radnor Elementary students here that want to give us a presentation. Come on up to the podium. Are you guys all set? Yeah. You might want to pull that, yeah, just pull it down toward you. And I can give you a handheld if we need.
Hello, Board of Commissioners and President Miles. Thank you for meeting with us today. Teamwork. People have been walking on the side of the road for too long now. Sidewalks for Conestoga and Nathan by Azalea, Jimmy, Hadley, Ellie, and Nate.
Community. This would benefit the community because there would be a lot less people getting hurt. Also, it would be a safe place to walk. What people say about not having sidewalks. Jimmy, it is sad watching people walk on the grass. Nate, it is hard to get to people's houses that live here. Azalea, people are walking on the side of the road. Hadley, kids can't go by themselves places because it's not safe enough. Graham, people can't enjoy their walks because there is no sidewalk. Ellie, I feel bad for those people having to walk on the grass or the road.
Our story. We are 5 third graders from Radnor Elementary School. We saw a situation with Conestoga Road. That problem is no sidewalks at this area. We want to make a change to make this road more efficient with crosswalks and sidewalks. Our goal is to help make this idea possible to improve Conestoga Road and Radnor Township.
Counter argument. This slide talks about both perspectives. Pros: safer for humans, improved community, more people using the area, makes accessible for all, safer for walking pets, reduce of cars and gas. Cons: expensive to put in sidewalks, lots of maintenance including uneven pavements and tripping hazards. Some might not agree. Issues with the area including pipes and mechanical pieces. Additional considerations. Roads. Additional connections to South Lyfan and Sproul Road that also need sidewalks. Plans. This can connect to the Radnor Master Plan. Transportation, bike lanes, or safer walking paths for those who have accessibility challenges. Easy for people to walk place to place. Stormwater and fire hydrants. By having a sidewalk, it creates opportunities for these things to come in.
If people disagree, if people do not want to shovel the sidewalks on their property, we can do it for free.
So this is a map of where we want the sidewalks. The yellow line is where we want the sidewalks. The highlighted blue like outline is how many neighborhoods it would connect.
Sidewalks from Hardwick Road to Meadowwood Road. It would be as long as 0.67 miles.
Here are some reasons for sidewalks. You can walk your pet on the sidewalk. You can draw chalk. You can take a run or like a walk. When you're waiting for the bus, you don't need to wait on the grass or the road. You can go on bike rides if you're not old enough to go on the street yet. And if you have accessibility challenge, you can have a sidewalk and don't need to walk on the road.
What will you do to raise money? Hand out flyers, go door to door, bake sale, reach out to companies on Conestoga Road to donate, make a petition.
Thank you for your time.
That's me.
Questions?
First, before questions, I want to thank you for your incredibly thoughtful presentation. It was really well done, and you had some little tricky things you did there that even I don't know how to do. Anybody have any questions? No? Would you guys like to get a picture? I do. Oh, Kathy does. Great. Commissioner Agnew.
Hi. So how did you pick out this part of Conestoga Road?
We saw a challenge with Conestoga Road that there are no sidewalks, and we know that Conestoga Road, some of it is a township road, not a state road, and that we thought that we can make a difference on Conestoga Road.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, do you guys want to stand up here and get a picture? We can get some parents. I want to take some hands for this job well done.
Perfect. You guys could just stand right in the middle. Perfect. In a row. Yep.
Good job, everybody. You did really well. It's not easy to come and do it. So as you said, it fits right in with our master plan, and we're looking at sidewalks. We're all good sidewalk fans. So thanks so much for bringing it to our attention. All right, we're going to move on to the Delaware County EMS Emergency Declaration update. Mr. White, you want to start us off?
Thank you, Madam President. As promised back on April 28th, when the board approved the emergency declaration, we mentioned then that we would have an update about a month later. So we're a little bit more than a month into this, so we wanted to provide this update. First, let's recall that the primary concern and the reason for the declaration was any ripple effects resulting from the lost or the closures of the hospitals in southern Delaware County, and then the resulting ambulatory services that would be lost, and then what would happen to the Radnor's EMS services if they would be strained by those closures and loss of EMS services down in the southern part of the county. So since the emergency declaration, our OEM commander, Sergeant Gluck, has been receiving updates from Radnor Fire Company as well as participating with the county on their regular communications relating to these issues. Various elements of the updates include EMS response times that they're getting directly from Radnor Fire Company, the quantity of EMS calls being responded to by the Radnor Fire Company outside of Radnor Township, offloading times for ambulance calls, again, that information being provided by Radnor Fire Company, EMS transport locations, as well as regular detailed communications and information from the county's incident command. So over the past month, the weekly EMS calls for volume outside of Radnor have remained relatively stable. If I understand the information correctly, there have been anywhere from about 4 to 6 calls per week outside of the township. Those response locations were either Newtown Township, Haverford Township, or 476. So not too far outside of our borders. And these call volumes appear consistent with pre-emergency levels. So that's good news so far. Overall, the EMS response times reported by the fire company in these weekly updates have remained stable. So we're not seeing increased response times, both to the calls outside of Radnor as well as ones inside Radnor, which was, if you recall, one of our primary concerns. Offloading times have been around 5 to 6 minutes. Some concern over the week of June 9th where that swelled up to about 12 minutes, but then the week after it went right back down to the more regular window of 5 to 6. These are concerning as if you're paying attention to the situation, you're aware that the circumstances at these medical facilities, the existing medical facilities are being inundated with the increased volume of patients in need for care as a result of the hospitals being shut down. So the time it takes for an EMS service to arrive to a scene, treat the patient, get them to a medical facility, and then safely offload the patient and get back into service is a critical element to what we're keeping track of. So for the most part, those times have stayed relatively consistent, but it is something we're keeping an eye on. As even if the calls don't go up on us, if it's taking our ambulances longer to take care of the patients that made the initial call, that it's the same problem. EMS transport locations reported since the declaration include Bryn Mawr Hospital, Lankenau, Paoli Hospital, Einstein, as well as CHOP up in King of Prussia. So that's where the ambulances from Radnor Fire Company are taking the folks as part of all these calls. So in quick summary, the times, the call volumes have not increased. The times are staying stable. And we're keeping an eye on the amount of time the EMS units are out of service with these calls. But as of now, things are relatively within normal conditions. We haven't seen a great big impact from our fire company just yet. But again, it's something that they keep tabs on every week, and we will keep you informed as we move forward.
Quick question, do we want to keep our emergency declaration in place for now?
Yeah, we'll continue to press the county for that answer as well. If you'll recall, one of the important elements of establishing an emergency declaration is the opportunity for cost reimbursement should the state or federal government also declare emergencies. I'm not aware if any of that has occurred yet, so I'm not sure that's going to be a realistic outcome. And for Radnor, we haven't incurred much of any cost, if any, at this point, actual cost, dollars and cents cost. So that's one of the factors we'll keep in mind or keep an eye on as well, and just continue to ask the county for their guidance and recommendations.
Excellent, thanks. Glad to see it's not worse. All right, having pulled the post-year culling presentation, we're off to stormwater. Mr. Norsini, you want to start us off? We think the S for Steve Norsini is really for stormwater Norsini.
It's a pretty tough act to follow there, I'll tell you. So good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for letting us present a plan we're requesting for stormwater management and stormwater infrastructure. First, I'd like to talk about the difference between these items. I don't know that everybody's familiar with the difference between stormwater management, infrastructure, and best management practices. When we talk about infrastructure, we're really talking about pipes in the ground, inlets, bridges, and culverts. So they're pipes and inlets to convey stormwater to either a facility or a stream, or the bridges and culverts which allow streams to pass under roads which have stormwater runoff. Stormwater management systems are different, right? These are, in our case, our flood reduction projects. In most cases, we design to the 10-year, 1-hour event, and you've probably heard me go on about that for years. This was found to be the most recurring damaging rain event in the township. These systems are finite in capacity, as are all. So, best management practices. There are dozens of BMPs, of different types of stormwater BMPs. Vegetated swales. We've done a few in the North Wayne area as incremental stormwater management items. We did tree trenches. We took 2 parking lots. What you see here is the Cowan Park parking lot. We also did the North Wayne Field parking lot. So these aren't systems to manage runoff from all around. They just manage the runoff from that parking lot. So that's a BMP. In the previous bond issue, we did two very large flood reduction projects, stormwater management. The South Wayne area flood reduction project. If you look at that top picture, that is a picture of the hundreds of storage arches that we have there. Go down to post-construction, voila, we have a beautiful parking lot with nice plantings as well as solar lighting. Similarly, as part of the West Wayne Preserve project, there was a portion of it done on Fort, Friends of the Radnor Trail. So that top picture is if you were standing in the parking lot and looking out into the field, that is what is under that field, that's stormwater management. So during construction, it looked like that. Post-construction, everybody has their field back and the dogs can move around. I think everybody's very aware of the fact that throughout the United States, if you read reports, infrastructure grades are very low. And Radnor still falls into that category, right? We have infrastructure that is well beyond its useful life. And you're going to hear me in the next few slides talk about the same words, deteriorating, failing. So we are requesting funding to address 8 infrastructure projects through 2028. First one is the Earls Lanes Culvert. As you can see, that's right next to Sawmill Park. About 8 years ago, we did a stopgap measure to try to continue the life of that project. Unfortunately, this culvert is in need of replacement. It's beyond repair at this point. It's in need of replacement. Time has come to take care of that. In general, you're going to see that most of the culverts run in the $2 million range, and that's what we've estimated for this. Spring Mill Road culvert, a little different in that it has corrugated metal pipe as part of it. Again, deteriorated to the point where we actually have metal plates on the road. That's how we have to get cars across there. Lesser cost of $800,000. Walnut Avenue culvert replacement. This culvert, close to 100 years old, definitely in need of replacement. It is failing. A little bit of a curveball in that we're going to have to relocate some 100-year-old sanitary sewer lines to get that done. This is definitely a $2 million project. This is an in-house design by our staff engineer, Ben Wagner. It's 2 projects, Morris Road and Clover Road. So that's the first one, upper right corner of the picture. What we have is pipes that run behind the houses on South Devon from Morris. And in a big storm, because of the gaps in the pipe and the holes in the pipe, water pushes up like geysers. So we have this on video and in pictures. Just south of this, we have the second part of the project, the South Devon Avenue one we call, where we have severely deteriorated corrugated metal pipe that runs under the sidewalk and driveway aprons. What we would do, if the board approves this, is bid this as one project for economies of scale. It's about an $800,000 project. Fenimore Woods Park storm sewer replacement. As you can see in bold, this is not part of any park project. This is separate. So there is a storm sewer pipe that runs from Eagle Road to what is really a footbridge in the park, and then it goes beyond. This is a large diameter pipe, again, failing, deteriorated, needs to be replaced. One caveat, this project must be done in tandem with the playground replacement project. So I've talked to Mrs. Cohen on this. That existing playground, which is very old and needs to be replaced, the current pad it sits on is not ADA compliant. So when that project comes to fruition, it's going to be a different layout and at a different elevation. So we need to know that to make sure our design of the pipe is not in its way. It's about a $500,000 project. So in theory, that should be funded and ready to go before we do our project. Itham Park upstream culvert rehabilitation. About 3 years ago, the board allowed us to rehabilitate the downstream culvert. And we knew at that time we had this inspected that this is also in need of rehabilitation. If you notice, I have a few more pictures in this slide, only to get an idea of just how much work goes. When we say rehabilitation, we mean a top to bottom, north to south redo of that without replacing it. So you can see workers in the barrel, working on the stone, they work on the parapet walls, they work on the decking. And this is definitely in need of repair, and it's about $1 million. 31 Highview Drive storm sewer outfall. There's an inlet on Highview Drive. It's our inlet, and it outfalls to a backyard. Where that outfall, where that pipe ends, is so severely eroded, it's actually created a somewhat dangerous situation. It's very deep, very steep. In order to do this, we need to fix that, but also we have to relocate the storm sewer. That's why it comes with a price tag of around $1 million. This is another in-house design project, 607 South Valley Forge Road. So once again, the township's existing storm sewer, it is in poor condition, badly deteriorated, actually runs from Valley Forge Road through the property of 607 South Valley Forge Road. It is in bad shape. Public Works has helped me out a few times and put some Band-Aids on it while we wait to do this project. It's a lesser project at $200,000. This spreadsheet really just shows all those prices that I noted to the board, and I'm not going to go through each one. They were on each slide, but the total is $8 million. Lastly, I would like to address stormwater management versus infrastructure. So in the last few years, we've completed two sizable successful projects, the South Wayne Area Flood Reduction Project and the long one, South Devon Area Flood Reduction, Wetland and Habitat Creation Project. And while this borrowing is solely focused on infrastructure, a future borrowing may be used to address flood reduction in other areas. So we had the Midland Area Study done a few years back, and that put forth several possible projects that in the aggregate may reduce flooding in the Ithan Creek watershed, specifically the Midland, St. David's, Meadowbrook area. Some of these projects with public input could be funded in that future borrowing. And we also have North Wayne Avenue. We have done incremental BMPs in that area. We did have a flood reduction project about 10 years ago. It was very impactful to the neighborhood, and it didn't gain traction because of that. So we did not move forward on it. That doesn't mean we've stopped looking at ideas, and we'll continue to look at ideas. So I just want the board to understand, yes, this is focusing on critical infrastructure. We didn't forget about stormwater, and just remember, we just spent millions on the two projects we spoke of. So we were trying to do both. So I will now turn this over to my colleague, Bob Tate. Let me get rid of this for you, Bob. There you go, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. Just to go over real quickly, if you recall, those of you who were here 4 years ago, the township presented to the board a spending plan to accomplish a series of stormwater projects, many of which Mr. Nacini covered, that have been completed with the last bond issue. In order to do that, we put forth a proposal showing a series of projects, and I apologize, it's a little bit busy. But there are a series of projects that were outlined that could be funded through our year in and year out cash proceeds collected from the stormwater fee, and then projects that needed to be financed that were in excess of $500,000. With that borrowing and with the cash available in the fund and the recurring revenue, the $10 million was borrowed. The projects were completed without a fee increase at that time. However, we did propose and present that a future borrowing in future years, at that time was estimated at $4 million, could require a fee increase of $2 per unit each year over 4 years. So fast forward to where we are today, same model with showing the actual results. The $10 million borrowed, the projects, the various projects that were completed, those you can see with the check mark have been completed. These are additional projects that were not initially detailed in our first presentation in 2021 that engineering was able to accomplish. And then, of course, the major projects with the bond proceeds accomplished in 2022, 2023, even a couple finishing up in this current year. And as Mr. Norsini presented, here are the series of projects proposed that an $8 million borrowing would accomplish, and as such would require a fee increase of $2 per unit beginning in 2027, 2028, 2029, and then 2030. That type of fee increase will allow for a handful of design and, smaller projects to be accomplished as projected out here, along with the 8 projects Mr. Norsini has covered tonight. And as always, engineering team is always looking forward and has a list of projects for some point in the future. And should the board choose to act on these, we can project these out and determine where our balance is and what kind of borrowing we would need to fund those projects as well. But as it stands right now, an $8 million borrowing accomplishes the projects presented with a projected fee increase, $2 per unit per year, over 4 years beginning in 2027. That's all I have, so thank you.
Thank you. I got to finish my thought here, sorry.
So, Madam President, while you're finishing your thought, just to kind of bring all that together, our goal tonight was, first of all, to come back and report back to the board on how we've done since the last funding plan was authorized in 2021. I think we could see through those projects that it's a successful project or program to this point. And at that time, we had said that at some point in the future, we'll be back. So we're kind of at that point now where we've exhausted the funds available to continue moving on projects, and we're at a point of go, no-go for additional funding and additional projects. So for tonight's purposes, we wanted to present this information and allow you time to process and ask questions. We're not asking for any direction or decision tonight. We're just trying to present it to you and get the information out so that at a future meeting we can get discussion and direction on it.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. White or for Mr. Tate or for Mr. Norsini? No? All right. We'll move on to public participation. So we will do a general public participation here. You're welcome to wait until the specific agenda item comes up if you want to, or if you want to speak now, that's fine. 5 minutes, give your name and your street address. You don't have to give the number of your house. And you can speak. Mr. Kearns.
Ken Kearns, 221 Walnut Avenue. I'm here on behalf of the Wayne Music Festival. Just wanted to say I'm very heartily thankful for the cooperation that the township provides for us every year. This is our 10th year of the festival. We had bands from as far as Austin, Texas, and Nashville, and New Orleans, and New York, and everybody raves about how this township comes together for such a great day. We got lucky with the weather, considering it's been raining for 2 months every day, and we got a 12-hour window of beautiful weather and some great performances. Minimal incidents. Ricky, your team was incredible. Second to none. The Public Works guys are just on it like nobody's business, and we all pick up on it and thank them during the day and feed them and try to take care of them when we can, but they're really great to work with. And everybody from the communications department communicating to our residents about some of the important things in parking and safety, down to promoting the bands this year, which is a really cool feature that the township did, so thank you for that. And Chief, your police team is obviously second to none, and it's great to have them out there all day making us feel safe. Just wanted to say thank you for 10 years.
Thank you. I had a wonderful time.
It was a great day.
Yeah, it was really wonderful. All right. Any further public participation? Come on up.
My name is Ellen McCabe. I live at 247 Hardwick Lane in Villanova. First of all, I want to commend the children who put together the wonderful presentation today. And I want to second that motion to create sidewalks in our area. I am a senior citizen. I walk along Conestoga Road. I walk along Eithon Avenue, and I also walk along Sproul Road. And none of them are really safe for walking. And I think with the added attention to health, where they're urging us to get out and walk, it's a low-impact kinds of exercise, I really think you should give some very careful consideration to that. People run along those routes, people walk along those routes, and they are very heavily used, and I would love to see sidewalks. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public participation at this point? Come on up. Oh, there are two of you, so duke it out.
Hi, I'm Susan Fitzgerald. I live at 208 Woodstock Road. And I want to just build on the excellent presentation by our students and ask the question of how, I have two questions. One is, on Ethan Avenue, there is ongoing construction of a brand new neighborhood. And my question is, did the township ask for completion of those sidewalks on Ethan Ave, given all those new homes are going in and there's going to be a lot more traffic? So my first question is, that. And my second question is, I saw where Radnor got a $600,000 plus grant from the state to build sidewalks up by Villanova University. And I was wondering how does the township weigh in, and was there a request for Villanova to build those sidewalks and use that $600,000 state money for some of the other roads we discussed tonight?
So we don't usually do a question and answer. I think what we probably should do is let you have a sidebar at some other time with maybe Mr. Norsini. You could speak with her and answer those questions, if that would be okay with you.
Madam President, if it's okay, I think there are two pretty quick answers. So first of all, with regard to the Ethan Avenue, as the board is aware, with the development of that new housing development going in, the township did negotiate with the builders for the completion of the sidewalk that would connect the Agnes Irwin School, where it ends, up to Meadowwood. The problem with that project right now is that there's a couple of holdouts from the property owners that will not give the township the access to install the sidewalk. So the plans are designed. There's a sidewalk project ready to go. That's typically the case with our new sidewalk projects, is getting the easements from the property owners to say yes. So that's where that's at. Secondarily, the $600,000 grant, I think there's some confusion. That's a grant that Villanova applied for sidewalks on their property. The township supported that, but at the end of the day, it's a grant that's awarded to Villanova. They will be installing those sidewalks.
Thank you, Mr. White. Much easier for Mr. Norsini that way. All right, any further public participation at this point? Come on up.
My name is Charles King. I'm here with my wife. We are at 251 Hardwick, on the corner of Hardwick and Conestoga. So what Mr. White just said about property owners and sidewalks, that answered a question that I had. So my wife and I would be enthusiastic to support sidewalks on the section of Conestoga that is along our property. We both support the children who came to give the presentation. And I guess the question I had for the board is, what is the follow-up on that? I mean, they came and gave the presentation, so is it, do you guys, what happens next?
Well, I can tell you generally, we're in the middle of having just completed our comprehensive plan.
Right,
And part of that is being able to get around without cars,
Right.
Which includes sidewalks. So we're just starting to prioritize that now.
Okay.
And so it'll fit into that scenario.
Okay.
Nothing happens fast around here.
No, I know. And that's why I wanted to ask, because,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Any further public participation? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Leslie Clifton. I live at 414 Maplewood Avenue, and I'd like to speak now about the new changes in the dogs' uses of parks. And I just don't think we can stick around long enough to speak about it later. So I've lived near Friends of Radnor Trail Park ever since it was built, and we like to use it sometimes to walk ourselves through there and sometimes to walk our leashed grand dog when we get to have custody of him. And, and a lot of times when we're walking there, one or more of the unleashed dogs in that park will start to wander away from their owners and come towards us and try to meet my dog as I'm walking. This is a bad idea, as my dog can have leash aggression, meeting a new dog while he's on a leash, and that other dog is not. And we all know how dogs get acquainted by smelling each other's rear ends. Fortunately, not the way people get acquainted, but when one dog is leashed and the other is unleashed, the leashed dog cannot move away from the inquisitive other dog, and aggression can happen. So when I see this starting to happen, a dog is wandering over, I'll yell out to the owners of the dogs, who are usually standing nearby talking, "Please get your dog." But often no one reacts, or it's too late. Or they say, "Don't worry, my dog is friendly." Great, their dog might be friendly, but my grand dog is a rescue, and we don't know what trauma he's had in the past, and sometimes he's not friendly to other dogs, especially when he's leashed and someone comes and sticks their nose in his butt. So also, other dogs can be set off, and the dog that is normally friendly can become suddenly unfriendly. So I don't want to be a Karen or anything, but I don't want to be put in the position of having to protect a loose, unknown dog when my dog isn't doing anything wrong. I don't want to be held accountable for any damage that might happen. A lot of people's dogs do not react well to meeting new dogs on leash. Similarly, there's times when I and other people I've seen in the park, even though we may adore dogs, which I do, just do not want to meet someone's dog face to face, like if it's muddy or slippery out. We just don't want to get wet or muddy by a dog coming up to us, maybe jumping up with their paws on us. So my feeling is if Radnor wants to allow dogs to run free and play in the Friends of Radnor Trails Park, which is great, I urge that the township properly and completely fence the dog play area and have a double gate that prevents unleashed dogs from wandering out. Right now, it's just a hazard, and this is the perfect time to remedy the situation so that nobody gets hurt, no dogs have injuries, and the township doesn't have liabilities for having provided a situation where dogs or people could get hurt. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Tom Cerrone. I live at 420 West Beach Street. I also wanted to talk about the dogs policy. The one thing that I watched the recording from the last meeting, and I thought it might be, it wasn't as transparent about how many parks were changing, because all those parks right now in Section A are going from no leash or leash optional to mandating leashes. And so, for instance, in North Wayne Park, which is a park that we use a lot, it's currently on the website. It says you're allowed to use the park without a leash. You just need the dog to be under control. And then under this change, it would require a leash. And so there's a lot more parks than when I was speaking that are going to be changed based on this policy. And so I think it's just the transparency, I think, when we're speaking about it would be good to bring to the community, just to get the full voice of it. But speaking about North Wayne Park in particular, it's a really valuable amenity. My wife and I are consistently walking our dog off leash. Most of the times we're the only people using the park. We let our dog off leash. We're really respectful of the usage of the park. So when there's during baseball season, we would never take our dog off leash. We don't want to be disrupting the kids. If there were a lot of people in the park, we wouldn't let her off leash. But for the most part, it's the only time that our dog is off leash. We let her run off leash, run out her batteries, and then put her back on leash. And it's really valuable community resource. We have neighbors that I know use it the same. I actually question how much the park is going to be used outside of the baseball season, because the only people I ever see there are people who let their dogs off leash and the occasional commuter that's trying to cut through the more efficient way. So I just think it's going to be a pity to get rid of that valuable community resource for no reason. So I would just encourage you to again, talking about transparency and coming up with maybe a clearer plan, going park by park to assess what really makes sense. In North Wayne Park in particular, I could see, taking it, not allowing leashes during baseball season or when baseball is in play. I think that would be a totally reasonable thing. Definitely specifying that they shouldn't be on the fields or the park, the playground, which we don't allow our dog to do either. I think bringing a more specialized approach and not just kind of, doing a blank market would be a good approach. And so I would encourage you to, rethink the proposal, taking those kinds of things into mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name's Paula Ball. I live at 417 Woodland Avenue. I'm also wanting to speak about dogs and parks. I live in walking distance from North Wayne Park, and I do walk there, and I will take my dog off leash 95% of the time. There is not a single soul in that park. I don't see other people using it other than dog owners, so by making it a leash-only park, I think you've made it a park that is going to be for grass and an occasional baseball game. So I never see other people just walking. It's dog owners walking their dogs there. And it's lovely to run your dog around. If there are people there, which I don't ever see, he stays on leash. But if there's no one there, I let him run, I put him back on leash, and I continue into town or I go home. I just think it's a shame to remove that ability for those who use it when really no one else is using it but dog owners. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes. Hi. Thank you, Commissioners and Manager White and Director Cohen and Radnor Police. I know that this is a complex issue. My name is Sandhya Nayak. I've resided at Poplar Avenue in North Wayne for 20 years. I didn't have a dog growing up, but my husband and I own 3 dogs, 12, 8, and 3 years old. I understand the need to codify this ordinance, but I think the need to codify it has to do very much with Skunk Hollow and very much to clarify which parks dogs are prohibited. I think that the ordinance also has to meet the needs of taxpaying residents. And kudos to Commissioner Abel for including the Ditmar Park walking path into Category A, for recognizing that the citizens there needed it. My request is that for North Wayne Park, please, you can include language, control language for off-leash control, such as owners may remove dog's physical leash if owner remains off-leash control parameters. That's owner remains visual sight, maintains visual sight, is able to get an immediate and desired response from their dog when the dog is called. The dog immediately comes and stays by the side of their owner, and that the dog doesn't approach other persons or dogs. And there you go. You have an objective method. And if that doesn't happen, the police can cite them. I don't believe the ordinance has been totally fleshed out. For example, right now the ordinance reads, dogs are allowed at Ditmar Park. It should say dogs are allowed at Ditmar Park walking path, because I know from my previous experience with soccer and ultimate that the entire park is athletic fields, but a layperson might not know that. And if they go take their dog onto the fields, how do they know that, oh, it meant to say Ditmar Park walking path? Or there's another park at 107 Privkey Avenue, which is right by County Line in Conestoga. Your ordinance says dogs should not be on a playground. This is a 50 by 100 lot, which is all playground. Why is that in category A? Why is the Tap Trail, which is a total bike trail, why is that in category A? So I think there's more to be fleshed out for this ordinance. I really don't think it's ready to be approved tonight. I do think that given that there was discussion at the Parks and Rec Board, and that discussion is being totally ignored, North Wayne Park has never had any conflicts, and now we're being penalized. I'm not asking for this to become a dog park. I'm just saying let it be used the way it is. My husband takes a dog off for 15 minutes to free sniff, but I don't want us to be, quote, illegal. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name's Maureen McGrath. I live at Beech Tree Lane. I think I emailed some of you this morning. And so tonight I'll be the fourth voice asking you to protect the off-leash rights at North Wayne Park. As you've heard tonight, North Wayne Park is really a hyper-local pocket park that doesn't suffer from some of the quality of life issues that I've heard that dogs have posed at Skunk Hollow. We've heard tonight about Friends of Radnor Trail Park. And these are all really valid concerns about off-leash dogs in high-volume, high-activity parks like these. North Wayne Park, my experience has been the same as what you've heard tonight. Very rarely do I see anybody in this park except for A, dog owners letting their dogs free sniff, B, children at baseball games during the baseball games, and C, commuters using the park as a cut-through. Typically, the park is empty. The people that I do communicate with there are usually my neighbors who are also letting their dogs sniff. And so I think just based on the community norms in this park, it feels like an overstep to assign this one-size-fits-all solution to all of the parks in Category A, particularly parks like North Wayne, where, to my knowledge, there haven't been any disputes among neighbors about the way that the park is used. So as a neighbor, right, we enjoy this amenity. It's really convenient and efficient to exercise your dog off-leash in 15 or 20 minutes at this park, rather than taking them for a structured 30 or 60-minute walk. And so having that amenity taken away and then have the control aspect really be policed and penalized by the police just totally kind of shifts the vibe of mutual respect and mutual enforcement that I've been really happy to see in my neighborhood. So I really would just encourage you to think about whether the solution is appropriate for every park, particularly the small ones in Section A, with my special personal vote to protect North Wayne Park. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further public participation? All right, thanks to all who spoke. We are going to move on to the consent agenda. Is there any item on the consent agenda that a commissioner or member of the public would like to pull?
2L, please.
2L? Any further items? No? All right, let's see, item 2L. Resolution 2025-88 requesting authorization to spend an amount not to exceed $15,000 for the purchase of a new electric-powered equipment for use by Public Works Department to be funded from the approved 2025 General Fund Parks Maintenance and Infrastructure budget. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Agnew, and a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mulrooney. Did you want to speak, or would you
Sure.
like Mr. Foster?
Well, I wanted to say I was pleased to see this requested, and that we are making some moves towards electrifying our equipment. It's quieter, it's better for the workers, the exhaust and the noise. And it's $15,000, so it's not a humongous amount of money. So, Mr. Foster, could you flesh that out for us, what the reason for the change and what we intend to get?
Sure. Thank you, Madam President and Commissioner Agnew. Last year, We had met with finance and the township manager, Mr. White, and we know that was something that we wanted to look into, was adding this type of equipment. Unfortunately, because of Public Works, what we couldn't do like a vehicle or a trash truck or something bigger, just because the technology isn't there for it. But we did want to look into minor equipment, so that's exactly what we did. So we've had a search going through different manufacturers and just seeing what gets the best reviews, and that's what's in front of you, is the request to purchase some minor equipment for the Public Works divisions. There's 3 divisions that will benefit from this purchase. As you can see in the legislation, it entails gas-powered or handheld blowers, hedge trimmers, push lawnmowers, chainsaws, and also the batteries and the chargers for all said equipment. So what will happen, just to break down a little bit more, for instance, if we look at the handheld blowers, there's 6. So 2 of those handheld blowers will go to the Parks Department. A lot of times they have to go into the parks, they pick up the trash on a 2 to 3 times a week basis, and a lot of times they'll have to blow off, say, the tot lots with the hard surfaces, the port surfaces. So having a quieter blower, but still one that without the emissions would be good to have around the kids and the parents, and also for the staff of Public Works. We also have 2 for the Highway Department, those handheld blowers. They're responsible for cleaning the business district once a month. And we thought that it was important for them to have that also. Normally they would go with the backpack gas-powered blowers, which the engine and the noise is a lot higher. So we wanted to try something that would be a little quieter for those residents who do live in that business district. And finally, there's 2 also for the trash department. They also clean a business district 3 times a week. So again, we wanted to make sure that, for those residents and also for the businesses, it would be safer. So that basically just puts everything into what we're asking for. The amount of all this equipment only totals to about $9,400. There was rebates. It came to over $11,000, but we had about a $2,500 credit. So we're still asking for the 15 because we do want to look into some backpack blowers and see how they will work. At least do a test. Hopefully they'll be good enough for us to look into those 2. But we do have some money that we asked for extra into what we'll be spending right now currently.
That's terrific. One other thing we had talked about too, the school district has those trailers that says they're green, and that if you had a inspired by Ukraine, what do you call it? Solar panels on the top, they could be charging the batteries that you're carrying around with you. So we talked about maybe looking into see what that would cost.
Yes, we'll be looking into that. The thing about all the batteries that we'll be getting, they come with chargers. So, putting the solar panels on a trailer, ultimately we don't have a trailer that we'd be able to put solar panels on. All the trailers that we have in Public Works are open. So we wouldn't be able to use it for that, but we could look into that for something for the following year. For the mowers that you're talking about, we are looking to incorporate those in our 2026 budget. So we've already had one manufacturer come out and loan us a machine for a week, so we had a chance to cut with it, and the supervisor and the employees in the Parks Maintenance Department had nothing bad to say at all. I mean, it worked perfectly. And we do have one more manufacturer that is supposed to be bringing us out one to test that also. So we are moving in that direction to have that supplement the gas-powered equipment that we have. Even the longevity of how long it can last on a daily basis is something that we're very proud to see.
Okay. I think we appreciate it and the neighbors appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I just want to voice that I like the direction we're going. I live next to a pocket park, and it's so beautifully maintained, but you have to suffer through the noise while you're waiting for that wonderful benefit. So I'm very grateful that we are moving in this direction. I'd also like to note that it's better for our Public Works personnel to not be strapped to those gas machines. So I'm glad to see that for their wellness as well. Thank you.
Thank you. This is exciting. We've been trying to do this for 3 years, so I'm really happy to see it. All right. Any other commissioner questions? Any public comment on this issue? Seeing none, I'm going to call a vote on Resolution 2025-88. All in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. Let's go back to the remainder of the consent agenda. Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? And a second? Any comments? I guess not. You would have pulled it. I'm going to call a vote. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. All right, we'll move on to the business agenda. And while I'm here, I'd just like to thank the auditors for coming in case anybody had questions. So that's terrific. Sorry you had to wait. Item 3A, we are going to table for various reasons, but so we will not be doing item 3A tonight. Hopefully it will come up in a future agenda, maybe later in the summer. Item 3B is Resolution 2025-80, preliminary/minor final subdivision plan approval for 221 South Aberdeen Avenue, subdivision of one lot into two lots, one lot with an existing residential dwelling. Could I have a motion, please? So moved by Commissioner Agnew, and a second. Second? Okay, second by Commissioner Mulrooney. And we have the applicant here.
Excuse me. Patrick Spellman, Site Engineering Concepts. I'm here with Greg Galingo of Rockwell Custom Homes. We have been here before with the caucus, and the major, I guess, conversation at that point was sidewalks, interestingly enough. We met out onto the site, with Steve and Commissioner Agnew to go over the possibilities. What was ultimately decided or suggested was that we would wind up grading the area between, basically in the right-of-way where a sidewalk would go. This drawing, this is my misunderstanding. This grading should continue all the way up as far as we can get it. When you start getting closer to Ivan, it gets too steep in here. These pink areas are steep slopes. But the idea would be to grade up to this point and make a pad for a turnaround. So at some future time, if sidewalks were deemed to go in there, the area would be prepared, and it would just be a matter of putting in the concrete. So to that end, we're asking for a waiver of sidewalks with that contingent. Also, curbing was, I think, the other conversation. Again, this is showing Belgium block. We actually are going to put in granite curb. So when we submit these plans for recording, these will show granite curbing along Lot 1 up to there is a manhole right here, which is half in the street, half on the side, in the right-of-way, that we would bring this granite curbing up to that manhole. I may have jumped ahead, assuming you remembered the caucus, and I probably shouldn't have done that. It's in the corner of South Aberdeen and Ivan. There's an existing house on the corner. We were proposing to subdivide off an acre of it at the corner of South Aberdeen and Ivan and construct the house. The stormwater has been spec'd out for the impervious that you're seeing on this plan, and those details would ultimately be flushed out in the grading permit. But it does show the viability of developing this lot. There are two outstanding comment letters. The Gannett letter we have responded to. There's no issues in that we could not address, so we responded to that, or will comply. We have complied. And then the Gilmore letter, there were no real actionable items on our part, if I remember correctly. That's where we stand.
Thanks for the nice summary. Mr. Norsini, do you have anything to add?
Mr. Spellman, could you talk about, so the granite curb where you're proposing to stop it at that manhole, I mean, the idea would be whether the board grants you the waiver for the sidewalk or you actually install sidewalk, is that the granite curb should go that length, What is the issue with the manhole?
It is in the curb, basically, right now.
So literally, we can work around that.
You
I mean,
can jump it.
that shouldn't be the reason to stop. I guess my point is, Mr. Spelman, we shouldn't stop all the curb because of that. I mean, it won't be perfect, but we should pick up at the other side and continue to wherever the sidewalk would stop or to wherever the grading would stop. I know the grading is not shown there, but we did talk about that turnaround. So it should go that far. And I say to you, but I'm saying to your client also.
Understood, and yeah, we will bring it up to, based on some preliminary grading that I was doing in this area before this meeting. The turnaround is going to be pretty much right at where the steep slope starts that goes up to Ivan. So we'd bring the curb up to that area.
Thank you.
Yep.
So my question is, why are you committing to doing the grading for a sidewalk without putting in the sidewalk?
It was a request to do the grading along there. We were requesting a waiver from the sidewalk for the reasons we had brought up before about where does this sidewalk actually go. Somebody who's coming up Aberdeen up to the corner of Conestoga, Ivan, and Church on the other side of that would have no place to go, and it didn't seem like that would be prudent to let somebody come all the way up here and basically be stuck up there. But in case something changes in the future, with having, especially in this area, the grading is pretty much the hardest part. So once, down here it's pretty flat, pretty easy in between the two driveways. Up here, the grading winds up getting a little steeper, so having that grading ready to go would be a large portion of putting in the sidewalk, a larger portion of the work to put in the sidewalk.
This is a really tough meeting to ask for relief on sidewalks for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really tough. And I guess, and I'm questioning, I don't know, sidewalks are better than no sidewalks. You're grading for it, why wouldn't you just pour for it instead of grade for it and then ask for a waiver for it? I mean, I do know that block. I understand that it would be kind of a sidewalk to nowhere, but right now it's nowhere to nowhere. So at least you'd have, sort of some length of that road a little bit easier to access. I live in an area where we have sidewalks and they stop, and then you're just walking along the road, and then you pick up another sidewalk. It's safer. It feels better when you're walking on the sidewalk, even if you have to make some travel across, areas that we haven't been able to put a sidewalk in for grading or for other opportunities. So I guess I'm just a little puzzled why you would go 3/4 of the way and not all the way.
The one thing about the grading is it does provide an area to walk off the street. So it would provide a sort of a pedestrian bench to be able to walk and not part of the street.
Yeah, I said this at the last meeting when you were here, when we were just caucusing, that I feel very strongly that there be sidewalks here. I realize that they're going to end at the property line, and I'm not worried about so much the Conestoga side, but if you were a young family and built a house here or moved into one of these lovely homes, you might want to walk to Wayne, to walk to the Wawa, to take your kids to St. Catherine's, and the only way to get full sidewalks is to start somewhere. And again, I agree with Jack that it's a bad night to look for a waiver for sidewalks after our beautiful third grade presentation. But I feel fairly strongly that there be sidewalks here.
So the sidewalks or grading would go from where to where?
I'm sorry, I asked that again. The sidewalk.
The sidewalks would go from where to where?
So at this point, what we were proposing is the sidewalk. I'll call it sidewalk grading.
Okay.
Right, which would be from the Lot 1 driveway, the existing Lot 1 driveway, up to, if you know that corner, it gets really steep right there, right at this point, and that's where we would.
So that's about 500 feet.
It is 500 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be lovely. The next it is another 1,055 feet till the next sidewalk
Going towards Wayne.
towards, on South Aberdeen towards Wayne. But that would be a third of the way, so, because it would be 1,500 feet otherwise.
Right.
So that's a plus.
Any questions?
Rick Lingo's gonna-
Yes, we'll put sidewalks in.
Thank
There was no way I was competing with those kids.
Sorry. Right, we'll bring them out again. Do another round. Thank you both
Thank
very
you.
much.
Yes, thank you. And
Thank you. And
It's
we have to
really
make,
appreciated.
we have to make sure that those kids know what they
yes,
accomplished
they-
tonight, even if we can't, if we're not giving them the ones they talked about, that
But
they
it's
had
close
such
to
an
Conestoga,
impact.
So I just want to clarify, we're going to do granite curbing the whole way, skipping where the manhole is, or however you get around that.
Right.
Mr. Norsini sounded like he knew. And we'll do sidewalks, so you don't need that waiver. And there are no other outstanding issues. And there are no other commissioner questions. Is there any public participation on this? Seeing none, I'm going to call a vote on Resolution 2025-80. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous.
Aye.
Thank
Thank you very much.
for your flexibility. Item 3C, Resolution 2025-89, minor final subdivision plan approval for 201 South Spring Mill Road. It's a subdivision of a vacant single lot into 2 lots, each with a proposed planned residential dwelling.
There we go. Good evening. Mike Rokosny from Site Engineering here on behalf of the applicant, Top Notch Custom Homes. As you mentioned, this is for the subdivision of 201 South Spring Mill Road. We are in front of you for a caucus. I can give you a brief overview if you would like. So this, I'll start with the previous grading plan. So this lot was a vacant lot. There was a pool that was removed and some grading that was accomplished by a previous grading permit. We are before you for the subdivision of the lot. So the existing conditions just show the stockpile that was created as a result of the previous grading permit that I had mentioned. This is just showing the subdivision of the 2 lots and our site plan showing the 2 proposed residences with the associated grading, stormwater, and supporting driveways. We are seeking relief from the following sections. Section 255-22B1K, and that is just to provide features within 500 feet of the site. Section 255-27C1, and that is providing the curb and sidewalk along the frontage of the properties. And Section 255-34E, and that's to permit lot 1 and 2 with the depth and ratio to be at 2.59 and 2.87 respectively, where 2.5 would be required. And we received approval from the Shade Tree Commission, and we are before you for a final vote on the subdivision.
Thank you very much. Good summary. Is there any commissioner question?
I do, which I wouldn't have had but for Mr. Norsini's presentation. So what is the effect that there's a culvert on South Spring Mill that's not in great shape?
Yes, Commissioner Agnew, not connected in any way to this development, nor would we be able to, it's an off-site improvement, we wouldn't be able to ask them to do.
That wasn't my question. My question was how are they affecting each other?
Yeah, they're separate issues.
So totally different, okay.
Any further commissioner questions or comments?
I think you answered this last time, and I just want to hear it again. You're asking for relief on the dimensions of the lot, and they look very long and thin.
Yes.
But how far off from our ordinance are you? I think you just said it, and it doesn't sound like it's that much
It's going to
difference.
be a little hard to see on the screen here. So lot 1 we are requesting the lot to, or the length to width ratio be 2.59, where 2.5 is required. And for lot 2, we're providing 2.87, where 2.5 is required.
Thank you.
So interestingly, if the lots weren't as deep, you wouldn't have to worry about this as an issue? I mean, is that, because it's a width to length thing, so the fact that it's
Yes.
actually a deeper lot is hurting you.
Yes. And then we had this exhibit the last time just showing the lots in the area that also.
Yeah, I have it, it's in our pack,
Okay.
actually. Oh, yeah, perfect. And how do you feel about sidewalks? I'm just pulling your legs,
Tough
sorry.
night to ask for relief.
Sorry.
I support them in the area that they recommended.
Good. Any further commissioner questions, comments? Any public participation?
I have a question over here.
Oh,
So,
go ahead, Mr. Rice.
keeping with the theme of sidewalks, and I don't know, Mr. Norsini and I haven't spoke about this, but their engineer proposed that if the board waived that they would pay a fee in lieu of the sidewalks. So I don't know, Steve, has that progressed? Because I don't see it anywhere in our review letters.
No, Mr. Rice, it has not. What I would ask then, if that's the way we're going to move forward, we would work with the developer, come up with a price for the sidewalks that we agree upon, right? That is a valid price for us as opposed to just a developer, and that would be the fee. If you would revise the developer's agreement, that would work for us.
Well, in their May 7th letter, they've offered this, if the board waives this. So you waive the sidewalks and curbs, and then Steve would work out what that cost would be. Then you can use that to put in sidewalks somewhere else, which, is something we, can certainly do whenever there's a waiver for sidewalks. It's up to the board, though.
So is that a land development issue or a saldo issue? I mean, is that?
Well, the resolution would have to be revised to basically say you're waiving the curbs and sidewalks, subject to a fee in lieu of, to be resolved between the applicant and the township. I mean, you've done this before on other projects, and then the money goes into your sidewalk fund, and it's available to put sidewalks where you really need them. Like Conestoga or wherever. So anyway, it's in this is their offer that they made in the letter of May 7th. Their engineer suggested this as.
I accept.
There
the
you
offer.
go. Good for you. All right. So we would amend this resolution to include that, basically.
Yes.
Okay. That's fine with you, I hope?
Yes.
I did not get a motion on this yet. Could I have a motion, please, for this resolution? And a second? Second by Commissioner Coates. All right. Any public participation? Seeing none. I am going to call a vote on Resolution 2025-89 as amended to provide for either sidewalks or a fee in lieu of sidewalks, and otherwise as written here. All in favor? Aye. It's unanimous with Commissioner Larkin off the DS.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 3D is a motion to approve alternate work hours for the Radnor High School re-roofing project. I think we'll hear about them first before I do a motion. Mr. Kachansky, is this you?
Thank you, Madam President. There are representatives from the contractor in the school district here. They made a similar request in 2024 for, I guess, probably phase 1 of this project. There's a timeline to get it done while the school is out of session, and they will present the request similar again this year.
Perfect. Thank you, gentlemen. Could we get a pretty concise presentation? That would be great. Just that we have a lot of people and a lot on the agenda.
Yep, I'll keep it short.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
my name is Kenneth Morris, Director of Buildings and Grounds, Radnor Township School District. I'm just here tonight with Kyle Fells from Weatherproofing Technologies and John Besch from David Means Roofing. I'm here just to, as the owner's rep for this project, to support and acknowledge this request. So.
All All right, I'm going to also summarize for these folks that it's a 3 a.m. start time, which I believe is similar to what we did before.
Yes, it's exactly what we did last year. Just two main topics for this request is, stay on our timeline, the schedule to finish before students get back into school, and also the well-being of the contractors and guys on site, tearing off, doing intensive work during the heat of the summer as well. Anything you wanted to add, John?
Good evening. I'm actually the contractor that's going to be performing the work. I think we stood here last year and asked for the same variance. The only thing I can say is last year, as far as I know, we did not have any complaints come back, and we were there the full summer. So we're kind of asking for the same lenience this year for the same size project. So thank you.
Thank you. I think it worked out well last year. I didn't hear any complaints either. And in fact, you're in an area that is nicely sort of isolated except for that one little Radnor Way neighborhood. All right. So now that we've heard the issue, could I have a motion to approve the alternate work hours, please?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Agnew, and a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Larkin. Thank you. Any public participation on this issue? Seeing none, I'm going to call a vote to approve alternate work hours for Radnor High School re-roofing project. All in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. I couldn't see. Yeah. Excellent. Item 3E is a motion to approve a license agreement to use space between the Willows Park Preserve and the Mainline Senior Services Incorporated, using at the Wayne Senior Center. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Agnew. Thank you. Who wants to speak to this? Mr. Nord, is that going to be you? Wonderful. Are you Katie?
I'm Katie, yeah.
Oh, wonderful. So we have a representative from the Senior Center and a representative from the Willows Park Preserve. Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah. So I'm Katie Mahon. I'm the executive director of Wayne Senior Center. This is a partnership that we've been talking about for a while. So Wayne Senior Center is looking to innovate our nutrition program through rental of the kitchen space at the Willows Park Preserve. This is a Monday through Friday, or Monday through Thursday rental in the morning to provide lunches and meals at the senior center for older adult residents that we're serving in Delaware County.
Yeah, it is. It's a terrific idea. Nice way to work together. The reason it's up here is because we have it says in the original agreement that it can't be sublet. So this would be a sort of within township sublet, if you will. The only thing I also noticed in the ordinance, it does say Monday through Friday. I don't know if we would want to amend that. Mr. Rice, can you give us an opinion on that, or doesn't it really matter?
I'm not sure that would matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that matter to you, Mr. Nord? I mean, as far as Friday? Flexibility there. Okay, great. I just didn't want to approve something and have to amend it afterwards. Great. All right. Any questions from commissioners?
I have a question. How many meals will you be able to serve if you have this access to the kitchen?
So our goal is 75 to 100 per day. So
that's fabulous.
Yeah.
And I understand from that this is it's donor supported, right? You got a nice grant or a gift for this?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Excellent. Really great. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sounds like a
really
great
exciting
program.
for the organization.
And I love seeing the collaboration between a couple of the gems of Radnor Township. So thank you for getting together on this one.
Thank you.
And I love how you phrased it, that it sort of solves an Achilles heel of the senior center
It
right
does.
now, which is
It
that
does.
people leave to get their meals
Yeah.
elsewhere. So this will be
Yeah.
terrific.
Thank you.
Okay. No commissioner comment. Any public participation on this issue? All right, seeing none, I'm going to call a vote on item 3E. It's a license agreement to the use space between the Willis Park Preserve and Mainline Senior Services. All in favor? Aye. It's unanimous.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck, Katie. Thanks so much. Mr. Nord, you're up. While you're loading it up, I'll just tell the audience that this is a biannual report of the progress of fundraising efforts and construction initiatives at the Willows Mansion, done by the Willis Park Preserve.
Thank you for that intro. My name is Will Nord. I'm the proud executive director at the Willows Park Preserve. We last presented in front of you, I believe, in November of 2024. So we're excited to share the progress that we've made over the last 6 or so months. I'll just go down that way. Just as a reminder, our mission statement at the Willows Park Preserve, we are a nonprofit 501c3, and we are working to revitalize the Willows Mansion as an integral part to the Willows Park and to open it to the community as a welcoming and inclusive place for relaxation, connection, celebration, and lifelong learning. Our values at the Willows Park Preserve are community, inclusivity, open space, historic preservation, lifelong learning, health and wellness, arts and culture, and collaboration. So what's been going on at the Willows Park Preserve? So before I get into this list, a couple thank yous. Definitely want to give a thank you to Steve Legerton and his crew, Tammy Cohen and the Department of Recreation, the Township staff, and specifically Mr. Norsini and Mr. Capella for their continued support and great communication as we continue to grow as a nonprofit. We were here a month ago, to present and give an update on some challenges that we're having with a couple of neighbors when there was music coming from events at the Willows Mansion. We are I think it's about 11 weddings into the season that have had amplified music outside underneath the tent, and I think it would be fair to say that we've had mixed results. Definitely making progress, and I think we credit that to having an on-site events manager that has been great at communicating with the neighbors and with myself and with the township. And so that real-time feedback, I think, has helped the situation. There's still work to be done. We're still continuing to communicate with our neighbors through the season. But I just wanted to give that quick update there. The mansion was used in 2024 145 times. And this is a point of this is how we measure success. I think I might have said this back in November when we were preparing for Delco Gives Day a little bit ago. Molly Gallagher asked me in an interview, what are you most proud of, so far with the Willows Park Preserve? And, my answer is we're most proud of every time the mansion is used, right? It's sat shut for so many years. There's talks about, possibly taking it down. And so we're most proud of when it's used and used by a lot of community groups, individuals. For an example, just last week, we had, in just a matter of a couple days, we had a local business do a photo shoot. We had Radnor High School seniors pick up their yearbooks and do their signing of the yearbooks. We had the Radnor League of Women Voters use it for a program. And then the following evening, we had the Mainline Chamber of Commerce in for a networking event. So I think just last week is a great example of how the mansion is being used. As we all know, it's not just about how the community uses the mansion. We are physically restoring and improving the mansion as well. Most recently, the exterior of the mansion has been painted. The kitchen, which was a large project, has been completed. We put a new hand railing on the terrace. We installed new window well covers on the one side of the mansion, and also did some stormwater improvements where the gutters were getting clogged and there was a line that was broken. So
when the gutters were filling up with water, it was backing up, and the gutters were clogging and freezing, and then water was going all over the terrace at certain times of the year. So that was actually a big project that we opened up the ground and replaced that piping and having that work. And in addition to the new window well covers, the basement is not completely dry. I don't know if it'll ever be completely dry. It's a big old house, but it has significantly improved water getting into the basement from those two projects. We have new fencing and landscaping around the new air handler, interior and exterior window cleaning, which was a big project, carpet removal in the second floor hallway, landing and hallway, and a second floor bedroom was also recently painted. And then as we just said, we have a great new partnership with the Wayne Senior Center. Also, I'd like to give a big thank you to you all for approving that paving project. I don't know if you've been over to the Willows Park recently, but that paving project through the park is outstanding. It looks great, and it goes all the way up through the courtyard and the Wishing Well Circle. And we're also excited about, and thank you for giving approval for driveway lighting that will eventually go in. We're really excited for that piece as well. So that's some of the things that have been going on. A couple pictures for you to take a look at, some events and programs. And now I am going to turn it over to Krista Hickson for some financial updates.
Thank you, Will. Thank you, commissioners. And I also want to take the opportunity to thank the township staff, the township leadership, who continue to support us and work very collaboratively with us. As stated here, we recently completed the third-party review of our 2024 financial statements. The detailed financial statements were provided to all of you, and I see that they were also included in the agenda packet made available to the public online. I know it's June, but the process of completing that third-party review and closing out the prior year financials is a time-consuming process, and this is the first time I've had a chance to be in front of you since actually completing that process. As Will said, it was November the last time we were here. So I thought it was important to just share a few highlights, but I'll also provide an early snapshot of 2025. The next couple bullets are a spoiler alert. It was a very strong year, and I think results speak for themselves. It validates, I think, our results, the strategy of really focusing and prioritizing community engagement. Probably the clearest year-to-year compare of our income and revenue is the subtotal. I removed a few outlier events. The payment in 2022 from the township to help fund the fire suppression system. And then more recently, we received a grant from Delaware County, or actually it was the PA State Keystone Grant supported by Delaware County that helped us complete the kitchen renovation. But as you can see, year-to-year growth in revenue. And what I particularly love about 2024 is that we grew on all fronts. Contributions were up significantly, as was program revenue. And program revenue is the revenue we get from private events as well as public events. I won't spend a lot of time on expenses. I'll just say revenue grew 41%, even normalized to exclude those like one-off events. Expenses grew 11%. So I just think that demonstrates the frugality and good financial stewardship of the organization. And again, the results on the top line. So the quick snapshot of just revenue and income through April. That's the most, when I put these charts together, that was the most recent month where we had closed out the finances. And again, we're on track, I think, to have another year and continued improvement over the prior fiscal year. So I wanted to open it up to questions.
Commissioner, questions?
I don't have any questions, but I just want to say congratulations. You all are working really hard. You're sort of, I feel like you're maturing as an organization, and we've been able to sit here and watch it and join you at events and see how
Mhm.
great it's going. But this is very exciting report, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's thrilling. I have one quick question. I'm still looking at this April chart that you put up there. Do you think that this shows the way it is because it's as of April 30th and you get most of your money in during the remainder of the year? I mean, because this doesn't look so great, but.
Well, you have to remember that number, this is accrual accounting, so that number includes a very large depreciation expense that we carry back from, the capital amortization expenses include even the roof restoration from, several years ago. The kitchen, everything is in that number. So, from cash out the door standpoint, we're healthy, and yet this is typical of the ebbs and flows that we have. I would say we also, because we're very cognizant of getting things done before the event season, the terrace stormwater work, that was just under $20,000 out the door. But we had to get that done before the start of the event season. The painting, we spent just under $9,000 on the painting, had to get that done before the start of the event season. Our cash position was pretty healthy, so we went ahead and got those projects done quickly, but that'll show a little bit of a lopsided picture of the bottom line. But I'm very confident that we'll have a year better than the year we had last.
Terrific. I also want to congratulate you on all the work you've done to try to ameliorate the sound issue. Since Commissioner Abel's not here, somebody's got to speak to the sound. I actually talked to a few folks over in Inverary recently, and they say it's a lot better. So as you say, a little bit mixed, but every improvement that you add is a good thing. So good hard work there. Thank you. All right. Item 3G, I believe. Yes. Resolution 2025-84, authorization of a letter of understanding to allow Radnor Township's participation in the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission's Sustainable Buildings Collaborative, the Energy Benchmarking Program. Welcome.
Thank you.
Since this is a resolution, I'm actually going to ask for a motion. So moved by Commissioner Larkin, and a second. Second by Commissioner Coates. He caught my eye first.
Excuse me, Madam President. If I may just introduce, it's Lauren Pulowski and Liz Compatello from the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, who have been working with Melissa Kahn and the Finance Department to advance one of the initiatives of the Clean Energy Plan adopted by the board in 2021. They're here to present tonight about an energy benchmarking program which the township has an opportunity to participate in.
Thank you, Mr. Tate. Welcome.
Thank you so much. As you just mentioned, my name is Lauren Pulowski. I'm a Senior Program Coordinator in the Office of Sustainable Energy at the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, and I work with the manager of the office, Liz Compatello, and we're excited to join you tonight. As Radnor considers approving the signing of a letter of understanding for the regional benchmarking program, we are asked to provide some context on the program. There we go. Okay. So to give you some background on the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, we're the federally designated metropolitan planning organization for the greater Philadelphia region, covers 2 states, Pennsylvania and New Jersey, including 5 counties in Pennsylvania, Delaware County being one of them. And in the Office of Sustainable Energy, we develop energy-related programs and projects to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions across the region by 2050, a resilient energy supply, and an equitable clean energy transition. And about the Sustainable Buildings Collaborative, this is a partnership between DVRPC, Green Building United, or GBU, and a coalition of local governments to improve building energy performance in Southeast PA. Our goals are to increase the adoption of building energy performance policies and programs, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, particularly from the building sector, implement building energy improvements, and provide technical assistance to local municipalities. Buildings produce about 59% of total greenhouse gas emissions in the 5 southeastern PA counties. And one of our goals is to reduce building emissions across the region. So building energy benchmarking provides one opportunity to do so. You might be wondering, what is energy benchmarking? This is a process of measuring a building's energy usage and performance and comparing it to similar buildings. Benchmarking is low cost, so building owners typically spend less than 10 hours annually using a free tool called Energy Star Portfolio Manager provided by the EPA, and just a fraction of time after that initial setup. And state and local governments can pass benchmarking policies to create energy benchmarking programs that require or encourage public and private buildings to benchmark and publicly disclose that information. That information typically includes annual energy usage, building information characteristics, and it's used to determine a building's energy performance. And benchmarking programs are very common across the U.S., with over 50 adopted nationwide, and the number is growing. We've researched best practices from these communities and learned from their examples. Over 25 jurisdictions have also passed building performance standards or additional policies to expand efforts to reduce building energy consumption. In our region, Philadelphia adopted a benchmarking policy in 2012, which requires commercial and multifamily buildings above 50,000 square feet to report their energy and water data to the city annually. Philadelphia went beyond this and adopted a building energy performance program in 2019, which requires non-residential buildings, again, above 50,000 square feet, to review their energy systems and make tweaks to improve overall efficiency every 5 years. The majority of the region's large buildings are located outside of Philadelphia, where there are no benchmarking policies currently. The comparison between Philly and the surrounding 4 counties is shown in the chart on the right. There are almost 7,000 large buildings over 25,000 square feet in the 4 surrounding counties, which present a great opportunity to reduce building energy use. And particularly within Radnor, sorry I don't have a chart here, but 74 commercial buildings are over 25,000 square feet in Radnor. Roughly about 18% of the total number of buildings in the township, but this accounts for 77% of the total gross floor area. So again, just a huge opportunity for tracking building energy consumption. And benchmarking programs provide many different benefits, including environmental and equity benefits, energy cost savings, and greenhouse gas emissions reductions. Benchmarking data supports targeted efficiency programs, helping utilities and local governments focus on buildings that need the most help without straining limited municipal resources. And energy efficiency upgrades can improve building comfort and indoor air quality, and also drive demand for more clean energy jobs and economic growth. Benchmarking is noted in many local climate action plans, including Radnor Township Renewable Energy and Conservation Plan, which was passed in 2021 and includes goals of 100% clean electricity by 2035 and reducing greenhouse gas emissions 45% by 2030. So through the regional benchmarking program, our teams at DVRPC and Green Building United provide regional support for benchmarking, including one-on-one educational sessions and policy development resources. We're in the process of finalizing a model ordinance for our pilot municipalities to customize and explore a benchmarking policy. Green Building United manages Philly's benchmarking program, so we leverage their expertise. And together, our 2 teams provide data and compliance management through the DOE's Building Energy Analysis, or BEAM tool, building owner communications, help desk support, and training and technical assistance for building owners. In the letter of understanding that is proposed for signage today, the commitments from Radnor Township include the following: participate in workshops to educate staff and elected officials on benchmarking best practices, ordinance development, and program maintenance, work with our teams at DVRPC and GBU to develop a model ordinance, consider proposing the ordinance for approval through the public process, participate in outreach to building owners, benchmark municipal buildings, and assign a point of contact that was responsible for communicating with our teams throughout the program, as well as having municipal solicitors review the program's legal opinion provided by our legal advisor and the model ordinance. I wanted to note that this LOU does not commit Radnor to paying any sort of fees or upfronting any costs to participate in the program, and it does not commit Radnor to adopting a benchmarking ordinance, only making a good faith attempt to bring it through the public process. In the LOU, the commitments from our team at DVRPC and Green Building United are as follows. The model ordinance resource and guidance and education on adopting a benchmarking ordinance, workshops and training on best practices in ordinance development, support with outreach and education for building owners, free access and onboarding into the Building and Energy Analysis Manager BEAM tool, and support with benchmarking your municipal facilities. If you're wondering about our other pilot municipalities, we currently have 5, and they're in various stages of the process. 3 of the 5 have signed the LOU so far to participate in the regional benchmarking program, including Lower Merion, Westchester, and West Whiteland. Radnor is leading the way in terms of municipal buildings benchmarking because Radnor and Lower Merion have completed the majority of the steps to do so already. The other 3 pilot municipalities are at various stages of benchmarking their municipal buildings, but they are progressing along with our support. We're excited to see Radnor propose to sign the LOU today and consider participating in the regional benchmarking program for Southeast PA. And Liz and I are here and happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely presentation. Any questions, Commissioner? Comments or questions? It was really well done. Yeah. Any public participation on this? Seeing none, I am going to call a vote on Resolution 2025-84 and hope we join you. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Item 3H, Ordinance 2025-03, up for adoption, is an ordinance of Radnor Township, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, amending the Radnor Township Code of Ordinances by revising Chapter 205, Park and Recreation Areas, Article 1, Section 205-4, Restricted Activities. The ordinance outlines specifically the current permissions of where dogs are permitted across the parks system. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Mulroney. And a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Larkin. Mr. White, you want to start us out on this one since Director Cohen's not in the country?
That's right. In Tammy's absence, what is in front of the board tonight is has been publicly advertised for the hearing as well as consideration of adoption of this ordinance. That was presented in detail by Ms. Cohen at the last Board of Commissioner meeting in May. And it also is the accumulation of countless meetings over the past 4+ years and various elements in this bill, as part of this board as well as the Parks and Rec Board. And so now it's in front of the Board of Commissioners tonight, what would be for final adoption. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions from there.
Commissioner, comments or questions? All right.
I do want to say that I really, I sense that the people who live in North Wayne have a good idea of how the North Wayne Park is really used. And so I will make a motion, if you don't mind, to exempt North Wayne Park from A and move it down to, what do you call it?
So for dogs, for parks that allow dogs,
Yeah. In other words,
they need to be on leash. There's no exempt, there's no other category. You either have dogs, you don't have dogs, you're a dog park, or you're skunk hollow, which is covered under a separate
right.
ordinance.
I guess I would want it to be.
So you're making a motion to turn it into a dog park?
Yes. I know no one will support it, I know, but it's okay.
I'm not going to make any motions, but I would like to make a comment, if that's all right.
Wait, she
or do
made
we
a
do
motion,
this?
so I need to
Oh, we
ask
have
if
to do
there
the
is a
motion part
second.
first? Okay.
I just have to ask if there's a second. I see none, sorry. Okay, go ahead, Commissioner
Sorry.
Coates.
I was just going to say, so I know we've had a lot of meetings, we've discussed this a lot, but I do think there's some opportunity, just having had the conversation more recently about these pocket parks and some of the local community usage, to maybe take a beat and talk to Director Cohen to see if there's some sharpening around the language we use, or potentially carving out particular hours or something like that. I know we've discussed that around Tennell. potentially this North Wayne situation, and then there's, I think there's some conversation around O'Connor as well. So at least what I've heard. I don't know specifics around those because I don't live in that area, but I wonder if there's an opportunity to sharpen the language a bit to see if we can't find a few more inches here for some of the folks supporting off-leash time.
So I'm just going to respond to that to say that, this is 5 years in the making. I think everybody who's had a thought on it has had opportunity to speak to it. That's not been the recommendation of the Parks Board, to sort of, pick and choose and make determinations based on current usage. I am a dog owner. I leash my dogs because I've got leash dogs. And I live smack next door to one of the parks on this list. So, it's just everybody, you can always find a reason to exempt or whatever, but I think the way that it's written is you're either creating dog parks, which excludes everybody else who doesn't want to be near a dog, or we're sort of remaining in this free-for-all that we've been living in for way too long. So I do think that there needs to be some codification and consistency, rather than sort of who came up with the most compelling story to tell us why, it shouldn't apply to them. So that's my concern about sharpening the pencil and going back. It's just, this has been going on for a very, very long time.
And I can appreciate that.
Because the Parks Board did not recommend.
Wait a minute.
You don't yell out from the
Commissioners are going to have a conversation, and when they're done, you're going to be recognized under public comment. Nobody speaks from the seat. They have to come up and do the same, okay? So let them have their conversation. Thank you.
I was just going to say that I know there's been a lot of work put into this and a lot of meetings. I've talked to Director Cohen about it in particular. I've only been involved since November of 2023 potentially, so I haven't put 5 years into it. But we have had some pretty good conversations, I think, with residents. There's a lot of folks that support it as is. There's a lot of folks that don't. There's a lot of folks in my community that believe that I haven't spoken to anyone about it. But at the end of the day, I think there's been, in my opinion, enough to give me a beat to say, hey, look, maybe I haven't heard everything, and maybe that's on me since I haven't been here for 5 years talking about it. But for me, I would say push it to next month while she's here so we can talk to her. And if there's no change, there's no change, and we can bring it back up.
Aren't you the Parks and Rec liaison? No. Riley is. Okay.
Jim Riley.
No, I thought you had.
Yeah, so two of our
insider
spearheads
information.
on this actually are not here tonight, which is Jake and Jim Riley, who's the Parks and Rec liaison, and Tammy Cohen is not here as well. We can table it. Let's get public participation, unless there's other commissioner questions or comments.
So it sounds like we're going to have additional public participation. It sounds like there's an appetite to table this today. I would say that I do feel some joy at the idea of making Tammy come back and sit through this because I'm fundamentally mean. Because we're going to have additional public participation, I did want to put at least 3 thoughts that I had in mind out there that maybe the public can respond to or at least factor into the conversation. The first is that I've heard a couple of different times that at the Parks and Recreation Boards, the only people who come out, or the overwhelming majority of people who come out, are advocating on the side of let there be more spaces for dogs, let there be more spaces for dogs to be off leash. And I'll be honest, I have not gone through the videos and toted up minute by minute whether that is accurate or not, but I'm certainly willing to take it on faith. What I will also say, however, is that we just get a steady drip of emails, police reports from people saying, I'm a 95-year-old widow and I was attacked by a dog at the park. I'm a father of 3 and my 3-year-old daughter was attacked by a dog at the park. And I'm saying attacked, but I don't mean necessarily that every person is viciously bitten. I mean that, the dog jumps up. So I wanted to make the point that while I understand that the very loud voices who are coming out and advocating on behalf of their beloved pets have kind of monopolized, in a good way, as they should, the conversation at public meetings, there's also a conversation on the back end that's happening where we hear the other side. And I think that that's probably why this is happening. None of the people on this board woke up this morning or any other and said, we hate dogs, we just want to keep them out of our parks. It didn't happen that way. The second issue that I'd like to bring to your attention is I've tried cases where dogs attack people, and I actually mean attack in this instance. And every single dog owner says the same thing, which is that I know that it happens to other people. I know that it happens with other dogs, but it would never be mine. My Fluffy is the best dog ever, and I've had Fluffy since she was a puppy, and she would never attack anybody. Everybody believes that, and for most of the people, that's true, and then one time out of a million, it's not. And unfortunately, this board kind of has to control for everybody, not just for the people who have known their dogs forever. There are people who do great things with rescues. Sometimes the dogs that they get aren't suitable for the environment that they get put in, which is really sad. But again, we kind of have to mitigate that risk for everybody. And the third thing and the final thing is a little bit related to it, and I hope that you'll take this in the spirit in which I intend it. It's this. When you bring a dog to a park, you're taking a risk. When you put your dog off leash, you're taking a risk. And because you know your dog, hopefully, it's a risk that you're comfortable taking, you're taking it advisedly, it's an educated risk that you are taking, but you're taking a really significant risk that someone or someone's animal could get hurt, and that's a risk that everyone who does that has gotten comfortable with. I've heard a couple of times, we're only gonna let our dogs off leash when there's no one in the park. We're not gonna have a bunch of police officers who are hiding behind bushes waiting to grab you. What that means is, if you take a risk that you might get told by a police officer, please put your dog back on leash, and he might even use a stern tone when he says it, I have 100% confidence that that is going to continue happening. I don't believe for a second that no dog is ever going to be not off leash in the parks where they're supposed to be not off leash. So I'm not suggesting that you should do that. I am, however, saying that that's my expectation. I don't think it's going to be the sea change that perhaps the public imagines that it will be. So with that in mind, I have no other comments.
So I have one more comment, and that's, one, ordinances can be changed, but two, we've learned nothing new here tonight that we haven't heard before. So I don't see really a reason to table it at this point. I would like to get public participation. If you spoke earlier, I would prefer you not come up and say exactly the same thing again. You do have the right to speak again, but please try to keep it brief and not just hit us with the same information all over again. All right, I'm opening it up to the public. Again, 5 minutes, just give your name and your street.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Austin Engelhard. I live on Garrett Avenue.
Into the mic a little bit better, sorry. It's just
Is that
for
better?
their viewing audience.
Understood. As I said, I live on Garrett Avenue. I was born in Bryn Mawr Hospital. I've lived in Radnor my entire life, except for 5 years when I went to Penn State. And as I went to Radnor schools, Radnor Elementary, Radnor Middle, and Radnor High School, I've come to appreciate Radnor's attention and culture to excellence. It is that culture of excellence that brought me 5 years into Penn State, where I graduated with not 1 degree, but 3. It is that culture of excellence that led me to working at one of the largest financial institutions in the United States, and it's a culture of excellence I do not see everywhere in the world or everywhere in this country, and I think it is very unique and special to Radnor. One of the things mentioned in the Radnor mission statement is we pledge to be a dynamic, responsive organization that continually strives to provide the most efficient and effective level of service for Radnor Township. Sounds like excellence to me. What that also says is dynamic. That means there is nuance. That means there is flexibility in things, and we don't try to paint with a broom. That is what I see here. We're trying to paint with a broom, moving 11 parks unanimously with very little nuance, very little appreciation for what the parks specifically bring to the people, to the community, that just doesn't sound sensible. That doesn't sound like Radnor. Why are we making these sweeping generalizations when we should be unpacking these things, doing the extra work, being excellent, and accommodating for these people who want to see their parks as they are, as they have been for the past 25 years of my life? This seems absurd. Additionally, excuse me, As of 2024, the American Veterinary Medical Association reports that 45% of United States households own pets. That is not representative of the amount of people that are here. That means there are a lot of people in this community who own pets who are not speaking up right now. We've spoken to people who have made the joke, oh, I'll just start saving up money for fines. That's not a reasonable solution to this. We should not be approaching legislation with the knowledge that people are going to be disobeying this legislation because, let's just let it slide. That's not Radnor. This is not what we stand for, and I think the obtuseness of this board and the lack of nuance within this issue is frankly disheartening, and it is not representative of what this community stands for. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public participation?
Good evening. Kim Cruz, Garrett Avenue. I've emailed all of you. I don't support this bill, this resolution. It is not what was passed by the Parks and Rec Board in January. I went to all three of the meetings where this was actually discussed at the Parks and Rec Board, and they did go through all the same sort of things that you were discussing here, but they came to the conclusion that parks like Tennell and North Wayne are community parks that bring a lot to the communities that they serve. And so I urge you to vote no on this bill because it takes away a lot of the community that Radnor residents currently have, especially in Tennell and North Wayne. But I do like the suggestion, if you're willing to table this and make a modification, of saying especially for Tennell, and probably for North Wayne, that from March 1st to May 31st, dogs must be on leash from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., because that's when, at least for Tennell, Agnes Irwin and the Radnor Wayne Little League have their softball games there. So I think it's fair that the dogs should be on leash during that period of time, because the fields are actually in use. And the rest of the year, including the rest of the days, I think we should be able to run our dogs off leash in that park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah Pilling, Garrett Avenue. Obviously, I wish to speak about Emlyn Tennell. Tennell Field is, and we should call it Converse Field, but that's all right. This field is used by Agnes Irwin and the Radnor Wayne Little League from the end of March till, if they've done well, the end of June. That's 3 months a year. And the rest of the time, it's just as is. We may not know each other by name, but we know each other by dogs. And it's a way for the community to come together. Garrett Hill is a dense area, and dogs are not allowed at Macrone. So you have really only one choice, which is Emlyn Tennell. And referring back to sidewalks, if you walk out of Garrett Hill in any direction, you're walking in the street, because there are no sidewalks. At Emlyn Tennell, there are 3 stations to collect poop bags. There are 5 trash cans. So there's more than enough, pick it up and put it away. And I walk it every morning, and I've only seen 1 deposit. It's not in the field, it's just off the path. And it resembles itself so much that I think there is only 1 violator. Let us do the reminders. Let us do the, hey, your dog's not picking up, please. here are the bags, do it. You're making a law out of it that really isn't necessarily let the community address any of the issues. And I guess that's about it, because you've heard it before. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public participation?
Santia Nayak. Just wanted to clarify a comment that was made that the Parks and Rec Board went through this. They did go through this, and they purposely took out any reference to a leash. It isn't the ordinance that they recommended for Category A parks. They just left it under control for that reason. I think the request for codification is referring to Skunk Hollow and specifically where dogs are prohibited, because there are people taking dogs to prohibited parks. That's the big issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paula Ball, 417 Woodland Avenue. I would agree. To my knowledge, and I attended those meetings, it was left that those parks were to be, your dog is under control, not leashed. So when I saw that it was coming up, that was new to me. So don't tell me that we've already had time to comment, because we were under the impression that those parks that allow dogs were going to still be off leash if the dog was under control. And secondly, has anyone ever looked at what goes on in North Wayne Park? Because I'm telling you, it's empty all the time. So why are we going to make a park just something to look at if no one is going to use it? Tell me when it gets used, because it's never being used when I'm there. I'm the only one there 99% of the time. I think it's ridiculous to make a park something where no one will go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, John Engelhard, 70 Garrett Avenue. Only 1 degree, unlike my son. Just based on, once again, everything we've heard tonight, I think that, well, first I'll address the timing thing. I've been hearing about this for 5 years. I can't say I've been participating, but I was at the Parks and Rec meetings, and after 5 years of going through this, their decision, I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right, was basically just leave it as it is. It's fine. There's really not a problem. And this board chose otherwise. So also on the with respect to timing, if it's been 5 years, what's another few weeks or a month, you know, to have Tammy here, to have everybody here, and to really look at, as Mr. Coates said, a little nuance, you know? It doesn't need to be this broad sweeping thing. It's all Radnor, but it's a bunch of neighborhoods. They're neighborhood parks, and we don't need the same rules at all the parks, which I realize it's not exactly the same in all the parks, but parks with dogs, there's just room for nuance, and I don't think it's finished yet, and things are fine as they are. So my question from day one has been, why are we even talking about this? Because everything's fine. Just to reiterate, our park is empty most of the time. There's 15, 20 of us who use it consistently, with the exception of softball. We know each other. Everybody knows each other. Everybody's fine. There just isn't a problem. So there's no need to do this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public participation?
Hi, Maureen McGrath again, Beech Tree Lane. Commissioner Larkin, you raised, I think, a really fair point, which is that tonight you have a vocal representation of dog owners that want to maintain this amenity in some specific parks, right? But on the flip side, you have access to a data set, which are one-off reports from neighbors who have had bad experiences with dogs in parks. I think that that data set you have access to lends itself to what I think is the best outcome, that we table this and you revisit that data set with an eye for precision to say which parks are experiencing upsets like this. I hope, my hunch is that the parks that you're hearing a vocal representation for tonight, like North Wayne, won't be the problem parks in that regard, right? And so what I hate to see is this really nicely community policed amenity be taken away because, like some people have said, we're painting with a broad stroke, and we're preparing for hypothetical litigation that might really be a fringe risk in these scenarios. So I really would appreciate a really fine-tooth attention to detail about how this will play out on a park-by-park basis. Thank you.
Any further public participation? So I just want to say a couple of things. I think a goal of this ordinance, one is Skunk Hollow has a separate ordinance, so whenever people bring that up, just know it's already codified. But a goal was consistency and enforcement. And to have, I mean, it was difficult enough to deal with the Skunk Hollow hours that we got for the weekend and township holidays. But there is good data that dogs and people are safer when dogs are on leash. Our national parks do not allow dogs off leash. Our state parks do not allow dogs off leash. And if you looked at what Director Cohen showed at the last meeting, none of our surrounding areas allow dogs off leash except in dog parks. We have 2 dog parks. We have Skunk Hollow with its own ordinance that allows dogs to be off leash. I guess that's what I wanted to say. Any further commissioner comments?
I'll just say thank you for that. And I agree with what you said there, but I do think there's some opportunity to have one more conversation about some details. So I guess I will make an official motion to table this until next month when Director Cohen's here.
Is there a second? Second. All right. All in favor? Yeah. All right. Passes. Yeah, passes. 3-2. So Mulrooney and Myers vote were no's.
Like it noted that I mostly voted to table it to make Tammy come in and be here.
All right. Let's move along. Item 3I, Ordinance 2025-04, Adoption, amending the Code of the Township of Radnor, Chapter 270, Section 270-31, Special Parking Zones. This is for the removal of the handicap space at 422 West Beech Tree Lane. Could I have a motion, please? So moved by Commissioner Larkin, and a second. Second by Commissioner Agnew. Chief?
Yes, Commissioners, the residents had reached out and they are no longer in need of this sign. That's why we're asking.
Thank you so much for that succinct description. Is there any public participation on this issue? Any commissioner comment? Seeing none, I'm going to call a vote on Ordinance 2025-04. All in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. Item 3J, Ordinance 2025-06. It's an introduction, amending the Code of the Township of Radnor, Chapter 270, Section 270-28, parking prohibited at all times, to add a specific parking prohibition. Could I have a motion, please? So moved. So moved, and a second. You decide. All right, Chief.
Thank you, Commissioners. We had a resident approach us, our staff traffic committee, and there is a concern as that you approach the stop sign and park vehicles directly on the corner, which forces vehicles to swerve sort of out of their travel lane to get around a parked car, and then that creates a sight distance issue as they approach the busier intersection of Upper Gulf. So we are asking for this to be added so that those parked vehicles are able to move back a little bit and everybody sort of wins. There is plenty of parking on the street, I would like to let the commissioners know. So there should be no negative aspect to this, just an increase in safety from sight distance.
And how would it be delineated? Is it a signage issue or a paint striping issue?
We'd like to start with the 2 signs, and I think we'll be fine. There's not a ton of parking. It's sort of some local people who may be running across the street. So we think after a couple of things, we won't have to alter the neighborhood up much except for 2 signs.
Thank you. Any commissioner questions or comments? Any public participation on this issue? Seeing none, I'm going to call a vote on ordinance 2025-06. All in favor? Aye. That's unanimous. Item 3K, ordinance 2025-05, also an introduction, amending Chapter 245, Storm Water Management, Article 8, Prohibitions, by adding a new section, 245-48, for swimming pool water discharges. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Agnew. And a second? Second by Commissioner Larkin. Mr. Norsini, do you want to take this one since it's a stormwater thing?
Thank you, Commissioner. So really, this is appropriate because we do run into this on occasion where people are draining their pools incorrectly. And what this allows us to do, it basically stops anybody from draining directly to the street, to a stream, to other bodies of water, directly to their neighbor's property without their written consent. So this gives us what we need to do to manage them. And it also notes that they have to neutralize their water because chlorinated water in the streams is no good for the macroinvertebrates. So there's a lot of good things with this. And Commissioner Agnew actually brought this up. So it doesn't mention enforcement here, but that's okay because we have enforcement in 245-49 and 245-52. So that's, unless there's any question.
No? Thank you. Commissioner Agnew, you want to speak to this?
Sure. So I fully copped to this was my idea, partially because I complaints from some residents, and I know it's not really the homeowners who are doing this, but they hire pool companies who then, rather than appropriately draining the water onto the pool owner's property, I don't know, I could put good motives to them. They think, oh, you know, our client will put it over in the neighbors, and then the neighbors' yards get soaked, and the kids, what do you call it, the jungle gyms and all that stuff are unusable. So the purpose of this is really to also to do the right thing about it, but also to keep some neighbor peace, and that it's really a thing that the pool companies will have to really be aware of and have the burden of.
But the neighbor will be responsible for their pool.
Responsible because they've hired.
Right.
I think this also, you can't say that the neighbor, I'm sorry, that the pool company is an independent contractor and therefore we're not responsible. It really makes them your agent. So they're responsible for that work.
Right. I think it's stated just as that. So excellent. Any further commissioner questions or comments? Having been the recipient of this happening to me, I'm very happy that it's up. Any public participation? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Ben Stahl. I live on Marlbridge Lane. I just had a question. I know this is not a Q&A, but I was hoping to gain an understanding of what the wording of indirect meant in terms of drainage, because it mentions direct, which I fully understand and appreciate the intent of the measure, but was just hoping to understand what an indirect drainage would look like in terms of either runoff or secondary impacts.
So I'm assuming that if you live on a hill and you run it onto your property uphill and your neighbor lives downhill and it just goes straight downhill, you're not actually putting the hose on their property, but the water's running down to their property.
And the intent would be to be making the homeowner responsible for that indirect drainage down the hill.
Right.
Understood. Thank you. And I just wanted to bring up one point. So having had direct experience with this, it talks about proper neutralization of the pool water and understanding the impact of the chlorine in the storm water. I applaud the intent here. I have had some emergency situations where the rainfall has been so dramatic that it's become vital to drain the pool via backwashing. In emergency circumstances, not allowing for that 3 to 5 day timeline, the proper neutralization and things like that. So I hope that the commission would consider some emergency situations where that becomes necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public participation? I think in general, when it rains a lot, what you're supposed to do is dump from the top. So you take it from your skimmer, not from the bottom of the pool, and most of that will be fresh water. And where it tested, it really won't have any chlorine in it, or bromine, or whatever your thing is. You just don't want to take it from the bottom. That's what you get for a pool owner. All right, no further public participation. I am going to call a vote on ordinance 2025-05. All in favor? Aye. That's unanimous. Item 3L, Resolution 2025-87, authorization for payment to Bryn Mawr Fire Company in the amount of $50,000 for floor repairs. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Mulrooney, and a second. Second by Commissioner Coates. We'll give it to you. All right, Mr. White, you want to introduce some members here?
Absolutely. We have from the Bryn Mawr Fire Company with us tonight, Chaz McGarvey and Chief Kincaid, to answer any questions. This is a conversation that the company has been talking with us administratively for a couple months now. Some significant deterioration in the flooring as a result of just ongoing weather, wear, and tear has resulted in the concrete dissipating to the point now where there's exposed rebar, and obviously with the weight of the trucks and the concern with the structural integrity, an emergency repair is necessary. So they've come to the township requesting our participation in the amount of $50,000 to help with the improvements or the emergency repair. The $50,000 represents about 1/3 of the cost of the total job, which is consistent with their coverage of our township in terms of calls in relation to their participation in the township, which seems to be a fair breakdown of the total cost in our regard. So Chaz is here to answer any questions. We included, Chaz, for your benefit, we included the detailed reasoning in the board packet. So any questions from the board, we're all happy to answer.
I would just like to add the one-third was for Radnor, and we asked 2/3 from Lowell Marion, and that initial 175 was an estimate we had put together at the very beginning of this. Since that time, it is costing us $202,000 because we've had to move out and occupy a building that's been vacant for 5-6 years. We went in, the plumbing was leaking all over, so we had to professionally clean the place and do some other things. So I just wanted to let you know that there were additional costs, but we do appreciate, your support over the years, and, with Mr. White and Mr. Tate, Mr. Nursini were down there to view the damage, and we do have exposed rebar up top, and we also had spalling of rebar underneath the floor that was put in the 1960s for apparatus that was half their weight and half their length probably back then. But I'm willing to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? Seems pretty self-explanatory, frankly. I saw some of the pictures, so, all right. Any public participation on this? All right, seeing none, I'm going to call a vote on Resolution 2025-87. All in favor? Aye. That's unanimous. The next item is item 3M, Resolution 2025-91, awarding of contract B-25-005, custodial services for the Radnor Township Municipal Building, the Public Works Building, and the Radnor Activity Center to Clean Net of Philadelphia for a 3-year contract in the amount of $433,272 to be funded from the general fund, buildings and ground cleaning services accounts, and rescinding the previously awarded contract to Interstate Premier Services Corporation under Resolution 2025-67 just several months ago. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Mulrooney. A second? Second by Commissioner Larkin. That was pretty self-explanatory, but Mr. Foster, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'll try to fill in the blanks if there are any. As you mentioned, it was the contract which originally awarded to Intrastate. And what happened when we had the contract, there was a part called consumables. So they would supply the soap in the bathrooms, the toilet paper, the paper towels. That part wasn't put in on their bid, but when we talked to them and let them know that, they were still willing to move forward. So I assume after some time, they weren't comfortable with taking that loss that they didn't plan on taking. So after conversations that we had with our facilities director, we asked them if they were comfortable, and they weren't comfortable moving forward. So we gave them a chance to, both of us, to part ways, so they wouldn't have any bad face with taking something that they couldn't continue. And after that being agreed upon, that then left us with CleanNet, which was the next lowest responsible bidder. So that's why we're before you now, to see if we can move forward with them.
Thank you very much for that explanation. Any commissioner questions, comments? I believe CleanNet was the service you were using, or are using now, and will be using again. So,
I just have one. Oh, sorry. Do you want to go ahead?
Go ahead.
You go. I was just going to ask one question about the rack being included in the contract, given that none of those facilities work. Does that need to be included in this, or are we banking on like the next, when it's fixed and addressed, to be included? Would it reduce the contract value, I guess is what I'm saying, if we did not include the rack?
It would reduce it, but after talking with Director Cohen, because she was involved in the process of making sure the rack specs were put in, it is still being used. So it does have to be cleaned and taken care of, just as a...
I guess I was thinking about like the bathroom area and stuff. That bathroom doesn't work anymore, does it? The front bathroom?
Yeah, only the specs where they needed to clean
Oh,
was
okay,
in the
okay.
specs. So they're not
Yeah.
cleaning the parts where it's shut down
Got
or
it,
upstairs where
yeah,
no one
just
should
thinking
be
about
at.
that stuff
I'm
not being
sorry.
involved. Yeah, sorry about
Yes,
that. I was thinking
no
like
problem.
the paper towels and the soap, and I'm like, there's no soap. So, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm good.
just the one bathroom when you first come in the lobby, they'll be taken care of, and the gym floor.
I have a question about our satisfaction with CleanNet currently. I mean, I know that in the first round of bidding, we went with the lowest bid, so they got outbid, kind of lost a gig that they were doing. So I'm wondering if we've had a good experience with them during their current contract.
I would say during their current contract, there were some issues that we needed to have them tighten up. We actually had a meeting with them in-house, so they were aware of things that they needed to do better. We do expect whoever comes in will probably not have everything appropriate, so that's why we have our facilities director, to make sure that those contractors that do come in, whatever they miss, we have eyes on.
Any other commissioner questions, comments? Seeing none, any public participation? All right, I'm going to call a vote on whatever this resolution was, 2025-91. Sorry, all in favor? Aye. Unanimous. 3N, Resolution 2025-92, authorization of the payment of change order numbers 1, 2, and 3 for black poles instead of galvanized, and quality adjustments for the additional sidewalk and curb and pavement marking removal, and addition to Merino Corporation for the Conestoga Road and South Devon Avenue rectangular rapid flashing beacon project. Contract B-24-004, in the total amount of $10,536.95 to be paid from the proceeds of the 2019 general obligation bond. Could I have a motion, please? So moved by Commissioner Agnew, and a second. Second by Commissioner Coates. Mr. Norsini, need more be said?
Madam President, you said it all.
Thank you. All right. Any commissioner questions or comments? Any public participation? Seeing none, I'm going to call a vote on Resolution 2025-92. All in favor? Aye. That's unanimous. And last but not least is item 3O, consideration and a motion to authorize John Rice, our township solicitor, to attend the zoning hearing board meeting regarding Wesley Pereira's appeal number 3222 for a traffic home occupation. I'll make a motion in a while. Let's get us started. Mr. Kachansky.
Thank you, Madam President. This appeal in front of the Zoning Hearing Board came as a result of an enforcement proceeding as a result of several neighbors reaching out to us that there was an illegal occupation, home occupation occurring at the property. The resident has multiple non-traffic home occupations there, but it was also conducting a landscaping business where he was having employees show up at the early hours of the morning and then again at the evening hours to load and unload equipment and materials and whatnot. Where this was occurring is in the back of the property in a detached structure which had access off of a private lane, and it was creating a lot of problems for the residents in the area, both on that private lane as well as on Berwyn for traffic and parking and noise. So a lot of investigation went into this. We did issue an enforcement notice. In lieu of appealing the enforcement notice, the applicant, the property owner, decided to then file for a traffic home occupation. Given the impact to the neighbors and the effort that the neighbors went through to help us coordinate with the enforcement notice, we thought that this would be a good opportunity to send the solicitor to oppose this application.
Thank you. Very nicely described. Is there anyone that doesn't understand what a traffic home occupation is? Everybody's good. Okay. All right. So I would like to make a motion to authorize the township solicitor to attend the zoning hearing board, I believe it's on July 1st, to oppose Wesley Pereira's appeal number 3222 for a traffic home occupation. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Agnew. Any questions or comments from commissioners? Public participation. Everybody's fine? You guys are so hardcore. You sat there the whole time. All right. And I would like to call, any further public participation? I didn't look around the whole room. Sorry. All right. I'll call a vote on the motion to send the township solicitor to the zoning hearing board meeting to oppose appeal number 3222. All in favor? Aye? That's unanimous. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for your patience. All right, we're going to move on to reports of board liaisons. Anyone have anything to announce? No? You looked like you were going to push it. Okay. Any new business? Any old business? Any final public participation? Seeing none, I would like a motion to adjourn. So moved by Commissioner Mulrooney and a second by Commissioner Larkin. All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.